This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points is sponsored by BHP and by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by your Houston area Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
We are ready to rock at NRG Stadium. Watt gets him down this time. JJ with the sack. Rock and roll. Touchdown, Deshaun Watson.
It's game week, and this is Texans Extra Points. I'm Drew Dougherty, and we've got Clint Storener, former NFL QB. You can hear him now on the afternoons. Sports Radio 610. We got a lot to discuss. Texans going back to the scene of the crime, Thursday Night Football to Kansas City. We're going to get into that in just a little bit, but we got to start things off with some news of the week. We got the Red Diamond Iced Tea Quick Hits, and on Wednesday night, the Texans went through another tune-up, and according to Deshaun Watson, it was great because of the H word. Everybody's healthy.
You know, the beauty of it, everyone came out healthy. So, we all came out healthy, and the scrimmage was well. Got some, good competitive plays, and, in a setting where we got to get used to, especially for our home game. So it was nice to be able to get on the field and just kind of, let it loose.
Much is going on outside the world of football, and the Houston Texans have gotten involved in the voting realm.
I think that's a great statement by our league and by the Players Association. I think you've heard Randall Cobb talk about it. There's, as an American, it's a precious right that we have to vote. And so I think that's awesome that they did that.
Earlier in the week, Zach Cunningham agreed to an extension with the Texans. So the guy that was picked in the second round of the 2017 draft is going to be around through 2024. Needless to say, a big deal for this 2020 defense.
Oh, yeah, it definitely meant a lot to me. Just when they got word back that we finally got the deal done, I was just very excited. A lot of, just having to take it all in was crazy enough for me. And then when I was able to call my family and give them the news, that was definitely a big moment for me.
Those are some news tidbits from the week that was in Texans land. And Clint, let's get into it. Game week is finally here. The preseason is closed. You've been through this a few times as a Dallas Cowboy in the NFL. What's it like once you finally get to this week? How's the mind kind of change?
Well, you obviously gear in on one single opponent and what it is they do, what their tendencies are, and how you plan to attack them initially out of the gate. But really, it's a breath of fresh air because camp it don't matter if it's COVID-19 camp or if it's a normal camp. It's long, it's monotonous. You get tired of the same routine day in, day out, and it's a breath of fresh air, man. So I'm sure these guys are stoked about being able to line up against a different uniform for sure. I
know you're very optimistic about the future of Deshaun Watson. What's he need to do next in terms of progress to become a better quarterback than he already is? And he's a Pro Bowler right now.
Well, I think one thing that I've noticed is just through his comments to the media, you can tell he's gone from a suggestion maker to a decision maker. He's gone to the quarterback that runs the offense, taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, more so this year than I've heard Deshaun speak in the past, I think. But when you look at the way that the personnel offensively has changed, obviously the quarterback has to take the next step. It's no longer about getting one guy touches in critical situations, one dominant guy touches in critical situations. It's about having 3 to 4 pieces across the board that can win games, that can convert third downs. And so Deshaun Watson has to be a distributor, right? It seems very elementary, but when it's all said and done, the next step for Deshaun Watson is to stay electric, stay clutch, be that put the Superman cape on guy if you need to be, but throughout 4 quarters, be a distributor, let your playmakers make plays.
And how hard is that, though? I mean, because you mentioned DeAndre Hopkins, and he's one of the best to ever do it. He's a great receiver, but now he's got new weapons, does Deshaun Watson. How hard is that to distribute the ball the way you're talking about?
Well, it would be difficult for you and I, but it's one of those things where Deshaun Watson, the effortless level in which he plays the game is what makes him elite, right? And so whether it's getting one guy the ball, keeping plays alive, or it's distributing the football to multiple targets, I think that with the focus, the emphasis throughout camp, the emphasis in every single meeting with TJ Yates and Tim Kelly will make it an effortless process for Deshaun Watson. There's a lot of days that are stacked on top of each other that'll culminate in what we see on Thursday night. And I would imagine that Deshaun would excel at that aspect of playing quarterback just like he has with everything else.
Yeah, so lots of new faces, but there's still some familiar ones. So let's play the what-if game, Clint. What if Will Fuller V stays healthy for 14, 15 games? What does this offense do? What's it look like?
Well, it can be as explosive as we've seen when he's been on the field to this point. I mean, I think that's one part of this offense, guys, that will always be there when you have Will Fuller and Deshaun Watson on the field. Their chemistry is as good as any combo in the league. Their strengths match up as well as any quarterback wide receiver combo in the league in terms of Deshaun's ability to stretch the field in the pass game and Fuller's ability to track the football like he's sleepwalking. I mean, it's amazing how good he is at doing that. But if you get it for 16 games, it's not about what they can do. We've seen what they can do. It's about what that means for Randall Cobb underneath, what that means for Brandon Cooks on the opposite side of the field, what that means for David Johnson in the run game, Duke Johnson in the run game. Everybody's game will take a step forward when Will Fuller's healthy for 16.
Good stuff. You just mentioned Randall Cobb, so it's important that we go now to John Harris, who's got a telestrator showing just what Cobb can do going deep.
Welcome to Texas Telestrator, presented by BMW. I am your host, John Harris, football analyst and sideline reporter for your Houston Texans. And we're going to take a look at what Randall Cobb can do going deep. Going deep. He's a slot receiver. Does a slot receiver go deep? Well, that's something that Randall showed he could definitely do when he was with Dallas last year to show that he's got some juice. And I love this example right here against the Miami Dolphins. Now, Dak does a really nice job here. We're going to go to the surface presented by Microsoft to take a look. So Dak gets what he thinks, and he was trying to get them to show with that first putting his hands out there. Now he's telling everybody, here's the route. Here's what you guys are going to do. Randall is looking at the coverage, but he knows what the coverage is. Man, they're going to man up on everybody. And then this joker right back here is going to be free. We call it man free or cover one. One guy free, everybody else playing man. So the key on this route, and there are a number of different things that Randall could do here. He can do his slot things. You know, he can run a little option route. You know, he might be able to run a slot fade here. But the Cowboys are going to work as such. And because it's man, if they are in tight coverage as they cross, they've got to be on different levels. They might bump each other off. And that's kind of the point here. It's kind of a pseudo mesh route. The Texans run this in their offense. We've seen that a few times before as well. The key here is this is a safety or a nickel trying to cover Randall in the slot. And watch Randall right off the top just burst off the ball. He's on that guy in 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. And look, he's already trailing. He already knows he's in trouble. And Randall knows at this point, even if the route was supposed to go here, I got this guy beat. I'm going to take it deeper. And so now that guy's, he's done. He's cooked. At this point, this safety should have been looking at this. Now, I don't know what he's doing. And maybe he was more concerned about this right here. Or maybe that this was Amari Cooper over here. I don't know. But he never gets his eyes to Randall until it's too late. Randall's got this guy beat by 2 yards, and now you can see him start to break, but it's too late. Dak's about to throw. Randall's going to get that open spot. This is going to be a big game. Makes a great over-the-shoulder catch, and then he's going to the end zone. 75 yards, Randall Cobb, away you go. There's a lot about that play. His release off the line was explosive. He beat his guy within about 5 steps heading to that over route. Then he adjusts and makes the over-the-shoulder catch, stays on his feet, and makes a big play happen 75 yards down the field. Fortunately, there was a flag on the Cowboys, and it went back. But it doesn't take away from the impact that Randall Cobb can have on this Texans offense, not only in those traditional slot routes, 5 to 7 yards within the line of scrimmage, but also making big plays happen right here on the deep overs and those things when teams decide to cover him in man coverage. Good luck.
Next Gen Stats powered by AWS. This is not a newsbreaker, newsflash. Will Fuller is super fast. Look at that mile per hour there on him. Holy moly. He could outrun a T-Rex if T-Rexes were still around. All right, we've got Clint Storener here in studio, and our good pal John Harris joins us via Zoom on the big screen. Johnny, great to see you. Hey, Wednesday night, Texans went through that, well, one of their final tune-up scrimmages. What have we seen, and what stood out to you in that bit of work?
Well, you know, that scrimmage was probably a little different from the first one. Obviously, there was no media involved at all, and so I'm sworn to secrecy to anything that I saw that night, so just making sure. But it was nothing really that we hadn't seen in practice, I don't think, up to that point. You know, on both sides of the ball, I think we saw a lot of the things that they're doing in all three phases. We saw that during that particular scrimmage. But I think the biggest thing is that I took out of this camp for the most part is that guys are healthy at this point. And I think that's the biggest thing. I remember going into week 1 last year, and Titus Howard was scheduled to start at one of the positions on the offensive line. And then he banged up his hand, I think, about a week before the game, and he had to sit out of that game and then came back in week 2. Hopefully you're going into this game at Kansas City on Thursday where you can feel good about, all right, it's time to rock and roll. And we got all of our bullets in the holster, ready to go. And that's the best thing you can be for September 10th.
John, I'm super excited about Anthony Weaver, the new defensive coordinator. Obviously, we all know who he is, but man, he's calling the shots, he's pulling the trigger. And I know you can't give us too much insight to what you saw yesterday and what you see throughout the week before week 1, but he's got a lot of pieces to be aggressive when he needs to be aggressive, to play coverage when he needs to play coverage. He may be able to apply pressure with 4 or 5 guys in a rush. If he can't, he can add defenders to that rush. What do you expect to see from Anthony Weaver that's a little bit different than what Texans fans have seen in the past?
Well, I think with Anthony, he's probably a little bit more apt to, you know, make the quarterbacks think a lot earlier maybe than Romeo. Romeo will play the long game with you. I mean, he'll just draw it out. He'll make you paper cut them to death, just bleed you to death with just moving it down the field, kind of a bend but don't break. But down in the red zone, that defense is going to be rock solid. There are going to be times where I think Weave is going to be feeling it like, you know what? I think it's time for that quarterback to feel our presence. So here we go. It's time to rock and roll. And I think that we're going to see from Weave a little bit more. And look, Weave played defensive line. He knows how important it is to rattle a quarterback. I mean, he felt it as a player. He saw it as a player. And I know just in talking to him over the years he's been here, and I've known Weave all the way back from when he was a player and did radio with myself and Sean Pendergast. We've known Weave a long time. And he'll give you that little sly smile, and you think, okay, this is good. This is a good opportunity for him. But then in that back pocket, he'll throw down an ace on you, and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? He's got plenty of that. And I think he learned some of that from Rex Ryan. I think he probably learned a little bit of restraint in learning how to play the long game from Romeo Crennel. And I think we're going to put them together. And I think you're going to look out there and go, some of this looks familiar. Some of this, whoa, I didn't see that coming. And I think we're going to see all of that on September 10th against a guy like Patrick Mahomes. I think the whole bag of tricks going to be thrown on the table that night.
Always great to talk with you, John. Appreciate the time. Don't answer this trivia question. I know you know the answer, and I'm pretty sure you know the answer too, but which current Houston Texan has the most career touchdowns? Think about that. We'll have the answer later on in Texans Extra Points. Stick with us.
Watson fakes the gift, steps out to his left. Watson wants to run, and he dives for the goal line. He's in! Deshaun Watson twisting his way into the end zone to grab the lead for Houston.
Yes, the Texans did win in Arrowhead Stadium last year, but it just wasn't the one you'd want them to win. That was Deshaun Watson rushing for a touchdown. We got Clint Storener here. I'm Drew Dougherty. This is Texans Extra Points coming at you from the Ford Studios. Let's talk about these Chiefs, Clint. One of the greatest to do it right now in Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. How do you make things difficult for him? What do you need to do to kind of jiggle with what he is accustomed to?
Well, it's best case scenario is that the Texans, they find a way to apply pressure consistently throughout 4 quarters with their down 4 rushers. I know they're playing a 3-4 scheme, but you throw Whitney Merciless in there and then the other 3 down linemen. You find a way to get pressure with those 4 guys. That's a perfect best case scenario for the Texans. And if you can do that, then you can throw different coverages at him in the back end. You can confuse him mentally. You can confuse this receiving core. But if you can't, then you've got to empty the sink. You got to empty the tank, right? You've got to send defensive backs. You've got to send linebackers. You got to try to hit him in the chin. You got to try to get him off of his point and make him uncomfortable. The problem is, in that situation, he's still pretty dang good.
Yeah.
But what people fail to understand is when you get him outside the pocket, when you get him drifting, now he's throwing off platform, right? No matter how good the quarterback is, he doesn't throw off platform as good as he does on platform. Not to mention, now you've got him out of his comfort zone, you can hit him in the chin. Whether he's got the ball in his hand or not, you can hit him in the chin. You can take him to the turf. I know nobody has grass stains on their uniforms anymore, but that used to be the case. I want the quarterback to be dirty. So it's an uphill battle when you talk about Pat Mahomes. There's no doubt about it. But you've got to make him play uncomfortable as often as you possibly can.
And you talk about getting him out of the platform, but have you seen many do it better than him? I mean, it seems like he'll be on the right side of the field, just whoosh, over the left side, and he goes deep, and they're doing something big.
There's nobody out there that I've seen like him with the ability to throw off platform, the ability to drop his arm, slide down low, and spin the ball 40, 50 yards down the field. But the point, Drew, is that it doesn't matter how you slice it, man.
Yeah.
There is more risk involved in those types of throws, off-balance throws, sidearm throws, late throws, 11-step drop throws. There's more risk in those throws than there typically is reward. And so if you can force him into those situations as often as possible, then your opportunity to make plays goes up, even against last year's Super Bowl MVP and 2018's regular season MVP, Pat Mahomes.
And he was able to torch the Texans with Travis Kelce last year. Texans have said, we're going to mix it up, not going to see one guy on him at time. What do the Texans have to do in that regard to limit what Kelce can do damage-wise?
Well, I mean, Drew, let's be honest, man. I mean, if they can get pressure up front with 4 or 5 defenders, then that changes what you can do in the secondary versus Travis Kelce and versus Tyreek Hill. If you can't get that pressure, then you've got to bring more defenders to get Mahomes off of his spot, and that limits what you can do on the back end and from a coverage standpoint. But, man, let's be honest. I mean, last year, I know the Texans had a tough time in the playoffs, but you're down 2 of your top 3 safeties, and you're playing arguably the best passing attack to ever take a field, the NFL field. Maybe Dan Marino and them boys back in the day were as good or better, but that's a tough matchup. And so to compare the playoff game from last year to this season's, the 2020 opener is really difficult for me to do because the Texans are not only better in their top 3 cover guys, they're 7 or 8 deep of guys that can contribute. I just think that changes the game for the Texans defense this year.
That's good to hear. All right, with all that in mind, let's get into players to watch. Who's your Texan to watch against the Chiefs?
Man, it's David Johnson. There's a lot to pick from right now with the Texans offense, that's for sure, but when I look at what David Johnson brings to the table, he's going to be critical in 3rd down situations, any kind of 4th down situation that comes up in the red zone. He's going to be critical in the pass game and the run game. It's just hard for me to see anybody outside of Deshaun Watson bringing more to the table and being able to impact this game more than David Johnson can.
That's the caveat, the Gatorade player to watch who's not named Deshaun Watson, because it all revolves around. He's the straw that stirs that drink, but mine, I'm going to go with Will Fuller. Went back to what we talked about earlier. You saw the speed stuff. He changes the game, not just when you throw the ball to him, but the way they cover him, the way the defense has got to react. I'm going to go with Will Fuller, but I like David Johnson too because, hey, the more the ball is in David Johnson's hands, the less it's in Patrick Mahomes' hands. So
that's right.
Let's go with that. All right, we've got more to get to, including keys to the game. So stick with us. This is Texans Extra Points.
Texans Extra Points has been sponsored by BHP and by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, by Amagi Bank, official business bank of the Houston Texans, and by Jameson. Tailgate like a Texan with Jameson Irish Whiskey.
Earlier in the show, we asked you which current Texans player has the most career touchdowns, and it's Clint's guy to watch against the Chiefs. David Johnson has 49 career touchdowns. He's run for 33 of them, caught 15, and he returned a kickoff way back when once for a score. So he's got the most on the team. Randall Cobb is second, just 2 behind him. He's caught a lot. Okay, let's get into our FCCU keys to the game. What do the Texans have to do to unlock victory, Clint?
Well, I think offensively they've got to have an answer for the pressure. There's no doubt about it that with the defensive backs that are out of the game for Kansas City right now, Juan Thornhill coming off of an injury from last year, they're going to be suspect in the back end. So you got to think that the game plan is to apply pressure to Deshaun Watson. Based off of last year, there were times when Deshaun didn't have answers for pressure.
Yeah.
Everybody coast to coast knew that covers the NFL. I would expect a lot of it. Deshaun Watson's got to have an answer for it, and it should come in the form of a whole lot of Randall Cobb early. I think that dynamic, that relationship, Drew, is going to be fun to watch, man.
It's going to be great to see. I can't wait. All right, my 2 are going to be this. When you saw success for the Texans last October, they were able to run the ball and run it effectively. You kept Mahomes off the field. I don't know that you're going to be able to run it for 39 minutes like you did last year in the victory, but let's rush for 120 yards, and that should be a good thing as far as getting you there. And then the second thing, let's see the good special teams that we saw for about a quarter and a half in January, as opposed to the bad special teams we saw. If you can control the field position, push them back, make them go the length of the field. Don't give those guys short fields. I think the Texans are going to look good. Clint, always good having you on. You're a big playmaker for this program. We appreciate all of you watching. This has been Texans Extra Points. It's great. The football season's finally here after 9 long months. You get to watch the good guys go at it on Thursday Night Football. We'll see you again next time. Until then, go Texans.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.